Hello everyone, I'm just here, I'm going to be honest, I've just come off a really sick recording with James from Kings and Bears that you're going to listen to. However, it was the first recording I've ever done with a guest. One of the topics that we actually cover and speak about in this is embracing failure and losses and learning from them. And I'm going to admit a failure/loss that I've made today. After the recording, I've gone on to edit the podcast, and I found that James's audio did not fucking record. And it's okay, because we actually already agreed that we were going to do a part 2 of this because he didn't get to answer all of his questions. So we're gonna do it again. So what I'm now attempting to do is put together this podcast episode with only my audio, which fucking sucks that I have to do that, but here we are. We're learning, and I still want to put it out. So I'm just going to interject at points and just tell you what he asked me and give you my answers. He actually went on about a lot of really cool stuff, and unfortunately, it didn't record. His audio didn't record on that, so we'll probably go through it again on part 2 with him. So I do apologise for that, and I apologise massively to James for that because he was saying some really cool shit. But like I said, didn't want that conversation to be wasted. I wanted to get what we could up, and this is what this is. So go and check out Kings and Bears on socials. Their EP Rise Up came out this year. Go and check that out. I'm going to put a little link in the description for you to go and listen to. And yeah, so here is what I could salvage from the episode. So we started off with James explaining that Kings and Bears are going through multiple channels and multiple means to promote their music, such as different social media platforms and gigging. They were also testing out like a YouTube series as well. So yeah, we started off by speaking about that. But I think what's important is you're focusing on multiple things and multiple platforms. Again, whereas I think a lot of what we're told now is TikTok's a way to get discovered, right? But it's not always the case, and there's other means to get discovered, like playing live in my head. And you know, with my background being venue owner, tour manager, of course, for me, I'm going to be like, playing live is just it's the most euphoric feeling anyway. It's why we're in band. Like, it's why we play music, to go and play live, right? But not only that, it's a great way of having people discover you and connecting with you on a more human level and not just behind a screen. And that is super important. We then spoke about other means that you can use to get your music out there, including networking events. But I found, as I've been going through the industry, people in the industry, no matter what role they're in and what they do, are not as uptight and formal and like, you know, like the suits that we all picture in our head. Now, the big wigs at like Universal, they may well be, or they might not. Like, most people that get into music because they're either a musician or they love music, right? So I think it's time for a lot of people to try and get out of that mentality. I speak a lot about like when you're contacting people like that and promoters, festivals, booking agents, whoever it is. We think we have to be so professional and on it with our emails and going, hello, we are this, and this is our official way of structuring this email. And it just doesn't matter, because for me, when I was booking at my venue, I started out as a promoter. I was way more likely to book a band when they put something funny and showed that they are human and made me go, I want to work with them. They like, not only do they sound great, and obviously that is still important, the music is very important, but they just seem down to earth, and I just want to work with them as people. We're not in this whole profession where it's, you go networking and you're all wearing suits and everyone's fancy and it's all high, nice things. It's like, mate, we all just fucking love music and we all have a great time doing it. And we're all just trying to get somewhere in the industry, whether you're playing, whether you're doing like what I'm doing, like managing or tour managing or promoting. You're like, I just want to enjoy, because having a career, any kind of career in the music industry, is hard. And I think it's so much better to be just a bit more down to earth and a bit more authentic in yourself, rather than trying to put across that you're a polished version of yourself. And there are some music industry networking events, but like I've been, and there have been some artists that are very obviously, you can tell they're very creative people and they love it, but they're there and they're formal and they've got business cards, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, everyone around here is at the bar getting pissed and just having a chat. We don't need to be bringing out business cards and stuff like that. We save each other's numbers in our phones. And I do think a big part of where everyone struggles with this is where that line is. Like, I need to be really professional. It's like, to a degree, there are ways of being professional in this industry, but you don't need to be like a suit kind of person. Otherwise, we'd all be fucking accountants, not musicians. So, and that's just how it is. And if you are an accountant and you're in that industry and you do have to be all polished and nice, but then you get to do music on the side, that's your chance to get rid of that suit and go, on the side, I fucking make music and go and play live and chat to really interesting people and drink beers with them. Like, that's another side of it. Every industry is the same. Like, a lot of different industries will have their specific networking events and stuff, which is cool. But like with music, it's just who you know. And if you don't know them, get to know them, but not in a cold email or whatever kind of way. Go to gigs, go wherever, be part of it, be ingrained in a scene, and just get chatting to people no matter who they are. Because first of all, you don't know who they are. Second of all, you could just find a new friend, if nothing else. And I think it's going in without all the high expectations of going to an event and going, I have to have 10 booking agent contacts coming out of this event. No, just chat to people. That's what it's about here. It's not about anything else. It is all about connection and chatting. And I think social media, I think it's where it has done some good, where it's encouraged us to do that. And I think especially post-pandemic as well, we were all sat isolated for a couple of years. I think the first year after, we were all buzzing and everyone was chatting to each other, and then it kind of calmed down a little bit because it got a bit overwhelming. But it got to this point where it was like to get somewhere, and I say this a lot to people, to get anywhere in any industry, but particularly the music industry, I think it's so important to be authentic and kind and genuine and just be respectful and grateful as well, man. Like I practice like gratitude a lot. I really like to look around me and look at the things to be grateful for rather than the things I'm missing out on. And even if you're playing a show to like 5 people or just the bar staff or anything, just showing up and being the best person you can be, thanking everyone, and even going up to those bar staff and be like, look, I appreciate you actually standing behind the bar and watching, because you could have gone and cleaned some fucking glasses, I think it's so important, because then the bar staff talks to the promoter. The promoter then could look at that and go, okay, they're great to work with. Let's look at some decent shows we can put them on a support for. They can then go and talk to other promoters in the area and go, mate, book these guys. They're fucking lovely and they're great musicians. They're well worth it. And that's how it happens. It's word of mouth is still powerful. And I think it's so easy to forget. A lot of people can get so fed up of negative behavior. Like for me as a tour manager, if I'm ever out and someone behaves in that way and makes me and my crew and my band feel uncomfortable, the venue or promoter or booking agent or whoever is responsible is going to know. I'm going to tell them. But equally, I do try and make sure, and it's a habit I'm really trying to enforce because we can really focus on negativity all the time. I equally, therefore, try to message them and say, fucking wonderful experience. All of your staff were lovely. We had such a nice time. Luckily, I have to send those messages way more than I have to send any complaining ones nowadays. But back, like you say, back in the noughties, man, like it was different. Everyone was grumpy and you're like, why? And the biggest thing you're giving off by being like that is, why are you here? There are other people that would kill for the opportunity that you're getting right now. Why are you here? I know that you may have prepared some questions to ask me about some topics, so fire away. James then asked me a really, really crucial question that I think is on the minds of a lot, if not all, artists. He made the point saying everyone has very limited time and resources now because, as well as trying to balance a career as an artist, it doesn't pay a lot. So we're having to work full-time jobs. But on top of that, we're also working on our relationships with family, friends, partners, and we need a social life as well. And there's all this stuff that goes on. what is the best thing to focus on as an artist when you have limited time and resources? I think it's about working to your limited resources. So what a lot of people can do is compare themselves to others. So let's say, for example, you've got an artist that has no money, right? But they have a load of time. Posting on social media is free. So that artist might decide to go, I'm going to sit and I'm going to make a shit ton of content, like as much content on social media as I can possibly do to get as many people noticing me. Versus you may have an artist that maybe is a bit older, can drive, has the ability to go out and play more shows, doesn't have a lot of time in the week to make content, wants to spend and has the time and resources to spend their weekends playing gigs. So then their focus is, we're going to go out and we're going to use the limited time we have in the weeks to book gigs for ourselves. Because they're two different ways of doing it, but it doesn't make one right and one wrong. It just means you're working to your strengths and you're working to the time and resources that you have available to you. The worst thing you can do is, if you're that band that is focusing more on the live side, is looking at the artist that might be a bit younger that has the time but not the money, working on the content side and going, we're fucking shit, we're not putting enough content out. Like, what are we doing? Look at this guy, he's posting 3 or 4 times a day, we're doing nothing. While that kid could be looking at you and going, fuck, I need to be doing more gigs. Like, oh God, they're out playing gigs all the time and I'm not. I don't think there is a right focus or a wrong focus, but I think the real important thing to do as an artist is to look at your time, look at your resources and look at your money and have a look and go, what works for me? And also, when we are in a creative industry and it is a struggle to get ourselves promoted, and a lot of the time, for quite a period of time, as you and I know, we're doing this for no money at all, do the stuff that you enjoy. Because if you're not focusing on the things that you enjoy and you're not making any money from it, what is the point of doing it? There is nothing. And like I said, there's no right or wrong. So if you decide your focus to promote is gigs and someone else's focus to promote is online and social content, well, we've seen examples of how that works in both areas, right? And someone that is younger may have, and probably more than likely has, a bit more knowledge on how to work a TikTok algorithm and how to convert followers into fans. Whereas someone who has been gigging, like you and I, for 10 plus years, have more knowledge on how to convert people to be fans of us through live and through seeing us play. And that can come from stagecraft, that can come from what you're talking to people about after the show, going to the merch stand, chatting to people. So, and I think it's where a lot of people can get quite caught up is, am I focusing on the correct thing? Am I doing the right thing? And there's no like paint by numbers with it, especially like with a creative industry. When we're doing a creative industry, there's no formula. People get to different places in different ways. Like some will get loads of plays on a radio and get a cool deal there. Some will get booking agent in first and they'll go and focus on live. Some might get a manager in that specializes in social media, so they'll go and do social media. All 3 of those examples have probably the same chance of success if you're not sat going, I'm doing the wrong thing all the time. I'm doing the wrong thing. It's about looking at what you're doing and really taking that on board and saying, I'm doing this, rather than looking at all the things that you're not doing. And of course, in an ideal world, we'd all be doing all of it. We'd all be playing gigs at the same time. On the way to the gigs, we'd be making content. And while we're not making content, we'll be reaching out to different people in the industry by email. But like you say, everyone's doing this around jobs and around family and friends and having a social life. And that is just as important, because if you don't have that, you burn out and then you're not doing anything. So the reality of it is looking at it and going, am I playing to my strengths? Because if you're an artist and you really good and you excel at live and you're that you play a gig and you convert fans, but then you're spending a majority of that limited time and resource that you have free on making social media content, then that's the waste. That's where you're wasting your energy, because you're wasting energy on things that aren't your strengths. Whereas what you could be doing when you're not gigging, you could be focusing on contacting more venues, contacting booking agents and promoters, trying to get support shows, rather than constantly sat going, what fucking content am I going to make today to put out? So in essence, there's no right or wrong. It's just what can you do to the best of your ability? Where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses? And if at some point you do get to the point where you go, okay, we have a bit of money here, and let's say you're like, let's have a look for a manager because we don't have enough time to put into this, then you look for a manager that can specialize more in the things that you are not as good at, rather than having someone there. Just like in any business, you wouldn't employ someone to do a job that you can do really well. You employ people to do a job that you can't do as well. I'd rather spend my time on the shit that I know I'm good at and getting other people to do the shit I'm not very good at, rather than having the stuff that I'm good at and bringing in someone else to do that same thing. Like, what's the point? So yeah, for me, it is just about focusing on your strengths. And while you are not in the position to have other people helping you out on board, then don't think about the weaknesses and what you should be doing, quote unquote, should be doing. You go, well, we're playing to our strengths. And when the time comes and we've got ourselves to a good position from our strength, then maybe we bring someone in to help us boost up where we're weak. James then brought up the fact that in any other business, you're looking at selling a product or a service that solves a problem the consumer might have, and how that relates to what we're doing in the music industry, and the fact that we speak so much about providing our fan base value. What does that mean? What is bringing value when you're not solving a problem? I think in a creative industry, it is a bit different. You're not solving a problem, but you are providing entertainment. And you could argue that the problem you are solving is boredom. And that's why it's getting more and more difficult, because more and more things are coming out to make people less bored, right? And that's where the creative industries were. When it comes to creating value for people, there is something I talk about a lot that has been the same for a very long time. And I think a lot of people think this has happened because of social media, but there are examples that you can look back on to say that that is not the case. And that is that people get invested in people. So when you're looking back at older musicians, you're looking at Queen, how invested people got in Freddie Mercury. He was different, and he was reported a lot in the tabloids. And that's what it was back then. It was the tabloids and the papers, and that's how everyone read about them. And the more they thought, the more they saw, the more kind of convinced they got either that they didn't like him or that they were fully invested in what he was doing in his band. And you see people going mad when they used to see the Beatles. They weren't going so mad. Like the Beatles, when they were coming out, they were so unique with the music that they were putting out. But I don't think the fandom that they created was around that. It was created around their story, that there were 4 working class lads from Liverpool that people could resonate with. They were good looking, and, you know, that probably helped a little bit, but it was getting invested in them as people. They put films out about them. People wanted to be their best friend, right? And I'm not saying go and make a fucking documentary or film about yourself right now. But the way people get invested in you as an artist to create a bit more of a fan base is to get to know you a little bit more, why you're here, and, well, you know, what your background is and where your story is. And it's also why I want to do this kind of stuff, because I'm hoping that it will help artists to break that barrier that is a screen on a phone, and kind of going, I have to put some title here and I have to put some captions at the bottom to make sure that everyone sees it, and to just tell their story a bit more. And it's what I try and do a lot, is I try and say about where I've come from. I'm quite open to the fact that I worked at a music venue for years, and then I struggled a bit because I had problems with alcohol and I had to quit alcohol. And so I've done that. And then because of that, I had to leave my environment from where I was and move on to where I am now. And people that I speak to, that I try and help, they know me through doing that stuff as well as the advice that I give. And when I used to put on shows, and I used to run club nights as well. So for example, we ran a club night called Ambush that was like for alternative people that love alternative music. It was like rock, metal, emo, that kind of stuff. There were like 3 other nights that did that in the city I was in. And yet more people came to us because I started wearing stupid fucking bright purple suits. I'm not saying this is the answer to do this, but donned like a mullet and a mustache, and I was at the front of the stage, and I was down, and I was partying with everyone. And so all of a sudden, you've got someone there that you're invested in. And by the way, that was not a marketing ploy at that time. That was me being a borderline alcoholic, enjoying getting pissed every weekend and having a party. But people got invested in that. They would message me, "Oh, you are coming tonight, aren't you?" Of course I'm coming, like I'm there every week. And so they're getting invested in me as a person. They're not getting invested in the club night as much. They were, but not because, oh, they play metal music. Like there were 3 or 4 other bars that played metal music. It was, Tom's going to be there, and Tom parties with us, and he's the owner, yet he's at the front of the stage, dancing with everyone, drinking with everyone, and having a great time with everyone. And that's what it was about. So when it comes back to being an artist, I'm not saying wear bright purple suits and start getting pissed all the time and, and all of that. But what I'm saying is have a look at your story and your background and where you're from and why you're doing this. And there's nothing wrong with breaking that boundary to people and setting boundaries and figuring out what you want to share and what you don't want to share. A lot of people, when they go through a journey of alcoholism, don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. I'm quite open with talking about my alcohol issues and the fact I've quit, and that's my boundary. And there are some parts with it that I don't speak about. But there's a majority of it that I do. And when I started to talk about that, I decided where my line is. But what I did also decide is that my line isn't all the way at the top, and I will never speak about it because I think it's important for people to know, because I want to give value there, and I want to, like, it for anyone that's interested about not drinking. I want to help them and tell them about how good it is and how good it's been for me. But it's letting people into that side of me. And I think that's what being an artist is. It does, obviously, you need to have decent music as well. But for people to get invested in that, for them to turn up at your shows, they want to know you. They want to be your like best mate. Mate, I got so pumped the other day, right? I actually recorded a video this morning and spoke about this, but I'm going to talk about it again because it was really cool. There's a band I fucking love that not a lot of people probably would have heard of. My mate told me about them. They're called 4-Stroke Baron. They're from the States. If you're into like your weird proggy metal stuff, go listen to them. They're awesome. They're from the States, and I've been following their drummer for ages, right? And for a while, I was into them and didn't even follow them on social media. That's another thing. You tend not to think about that. I started following the drummer a little while after, and I've been following him for a while, and his stuff never really come up and all of that. And he posted something about, we've got an announcement coming tomorrow, right? And I was like, sick. And I just messaged him and I was like, please, can it be a UK tour? It wasn't a UK tour. I was quite sad about that. But I was like, I messaged him, please, can it be a UK tour? He messaged back, which straight away was like, oh my fucking God, that's sick. Bear in mind, I think this band have like, I don't know how many followers they have, under 10,000. They're not massive. But even then I'm like, oh my fucking God, he's replied to me. This is so sick. And then we had a conversation that lasted 4 or 5 messages. And he said to me towards the end of it, if you want to have a beer when we're next there and you're coming to a show and you want to hang out before the show, just message me and we'll meet up. And instantly, I got so hyped that I went through their entire discography again and listened to all their albums. I'm like, mate, this is so sick. And it's silly, but it gives you that euphoric feeling. And then I know when they announce a UK tour, I'm not just going once. And that's A, because I haven't seen them ever before and I'm buzzing to see them. But B, I'm going to see them a couple of times because I don't get to see them often. I've now chatted to the drummer. He's got me invested in him. to the point where I'm like, we're going to hang out and have a beer. That's fucking sick. So I'm going to go and do that, and not just do it once. I'm going to go, hey man, by the way, I'm coming to 3 dates and you've got to hang out with me for those 3 days now, so, but that's what it's about. And we can do a lot of our communication through our own kind of band and music and artist channels. But I think it's also important to connect with people on a human level. And when you're talking to people like with a face behind the profile rather than a logo, I think that can really, really matter. And even like one face versus 3 faces, I think can really matter. So for me, the whole bringing value and nurturing comes from being a human being and having actual human connection with people and getting them to invest in you as a person. And therefore the music comes after that, right? Or they might have heard a riff or a tune for 30 seconds, gotten really into it. Let's say liked a post and commented like, fucking hell guys, this is amazing. If they don't get a response, I wouldn't say they're not sat there for months going, oh my God, that band never responded to me. But they're just not going to be interested the next time they see something, because they're probably connecting with a different artist who does give a shit that might be similar to what they're doing. And they're going, well, I'm more likely to go to a show of theirs or stream a song of theirs because they've taken the time and chatted to me. And it's the same with any business relationship. I used to work for a big utilities company, shall we say. And I was in the role of business development. And a lot of the deals that I would do to bring people on to have business with us and to do work with us, I had to go to site 2 or 3 times and have conversations. And we would talk about the work that they needed to have done for about 20 minutes. And I would be there for 3 or 4 hours. And we would have some lunch. We'd have some chats and we'd get to know each other. They would then invest in me as a person, because at the end of the day, there's fucking hundreds of utilities companies out there, and they're probably shopping around and seeing who's better and who's worse. And they say a lot of the time in business, you could have a product that is 100 quid or the exact same product that is 150 quid. But if the person selling you the 150 quid product is much more nicer and approachable than the person selling a 100 quid product, and they're just a bit of a dick and, they haven't responded to you, you're going to go with £150 because that extra 50 is the extra value you're getting from working with them. And the last thing I'll say on it is, like, if you're not interacting on socials when people are commenting on things, it's like being at a gig, finishing playing, coming off stage, going to the bar, standing at the bar, having a drink. Someone comes up to you and says, mate, that set was unreal. That was really good. And you just doing that. And they're going to go, what a fucking arrogant prick. I am never talking to him again. I'm not going to his shows ever again. What a dickhead. And it's not quite to that extreme. But, you know what I mean? Whereas if you turn around, thanks so much. What was your favourite song? What did you enjoy about it? You're instantly building a rapport. And I'm not saying it's easy. Whenever I talk about middle funnel a lot. Whenever I talk about it, I never claim that it's easy. It's probably the hardest part, I would say, is nurturing people. Because when you're looking at top funnel, when you're bringing people in, it's easier than you think. If you're not focused on how many people you're bringing in, if you get 1 follow a day, you're bringing that person in. The hard bit is to get them to stay. And it is hard. And you can start doing it by direct messaging and talking one-on-one. But as it gets bigger, you can start creating, like, Instagram lets anyone do a broadcast channel now. You can make a mailing list and you can give updates out in that way, because the algorithms on socials are changing so much that if you're following an artist, you're less likely to see their stuff, because it's like the algorithm's gone, I've done my job now. I've put them in front of them, done. What your job is then to go, let's keep them into this sphere. Like, I found you guys through a TikTok video. I liked a comment, I followed, we had a chat, I messaged you. I have never seen a piece of your content again since I've done that. But what's kept you in my head is the fact that we've been chatting and messaging. And so I think that connection is so important. And to action it, all I would say to anyone listening and to yourself as well to start doing is anyone that follows you, just message them and say, yo, thank you so much for following us. How did you find us? Just have that icebreaker question. How did you find us? And instantly it'll be, I saw you at a show, or I saw a thing on TikTok. And you're then not only having that interaction with them, you're learning where your strengths are. Because if you've got a majority of people saying we saw you at a gig, you know, I'm going to go play more gigs. If you have a load of people saying, I saw you on TikTok, cool, I'm going to make a load more content on TikTok. So not only are you engaging and interacting with fans and building a rapport with them, you're actually learning while you're doing. And you're learning, back to your previous question, what we should be focusing on and what we shouldn't. Because you know you're starting to get a bit of data there as to what works. And if you can and have time, I'm a fucking stickler for it. Make a spreadsheet, man, and just, start by putting the follow in. And you can, all you have to do, if it's the only information you want, you can put their tag and you can put how they found you. And you can keep that on record, and you can keep reminding yourself, if you're focusing on the gigs and looking at other people doing content or vice versa, you see that data, you see that it's working, and you can keep reminding yourself, I'm doing everything I can and I am playing to my strengths to get myself to where I want to be. And it doesn't matter what other people are doing, because they might be envious of how many gigs I'm playing. And so it's all back and forth. James then also brought up the point that he has missed out on opportunities to message people that could then turn into fans, because he gets a bit stuck on what to ask, what to say, how to connect with people, especially, on a screen, online messaging people. And he asked how to overcome that in the future. So when you get a message back, instantly, boom, the pressure's there. Fuck, I've got to reply. What do I say? Oh God, you can get rid of that if you have a document or a notes on your phone or something where you write down, or whatever, write down 50 questions, and don't write them when you've got that pressure of I need to message back. Write them when you've got nothing sat in your inbox to reply to, because they'll come to you a lot more naturally. Or if we're having a conversation, like you're having a conversation in person, and you ask someone something that you could ask on a message, write it down. And then when it comes to that and you go, oh God, oh no, I don't know what to ask now. Oh, I can just go on the notes on my phone and, oh yeah, cool, I'll ask that. And you don't have to copy and paste it, but it might just give you prompts of things that you can ask, because it is like when you are put on the spot, you go, oh God, and freeze. Like, I'm not going to lie, this is the first, you probably know, this is the first one of these I've done, right? And I was like, I'm going to put myself out there, because I chat a lot of stuff on the internet, but it's all unprompted, and people can look at it and go, oh, this is very scripted. And you can write scripts, you can write notes. I found that I prefer not to do that, but you can. And I went, I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to let anyone ask me anything about a career in the music industry, and I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can reply. And I'm shitting it. Like, honestly, like 10 minutes before this call, I was shitting it, because I was like, what if he asks something I don't know, or anything like that? But then when you start doing it more often, and you start realizing, actually, I can do this, I am good at this, and you can approach it a bit more with confidence. And like at the minute, having those prompted questions written down is kind of like having stabilizers on a bike, right? When you're a kid, you're learning to ride a bike, you don't know how you're doing it, you put stabilizers on. So your prompts and your questions are your stabilizers. And then the more you start using them, the more you start chatting to people, the less you'll find you'll have to keep going over to your notes and finding them, because either you'll have your memory bank of them, or you don't feel that pressure anymore because you know you're good at it. We then spoke about how to bring people in so you can then provide them value and nurture them to become, proper fans. TikTok is so good for top of funnel. Like, when I talk about it a lot, I've been made aware recently that I'm actually starting to sound like I'm going, fuck social media, TikTok shit, but I'm not. TikTok's fucking great, like, especially as a top funnel, it's so good. But if you're trying to use it to post content and convert straight away to the bottom, forget it. If you're using it to bring people in and then learning how to nurture those people and to chat to them. And by the way, the best way of doing it is authenticity. Get out of your head that I'm doing this because I want them to listen to my music, because it conveys so easily across that that's what you're doing. So I really like interacting and chatting with artists. I will scroll through TikTok of an evening, and probably a fair few of you listening probably found me by me commenting on some of your content. And I do it because I love doing it. I love chatting about it. I loved, my favourite part of being at that venue was networking and chatting with bands. And I'm not, as we said earlier, not networking in that traditional sense, but getting to know people. And I missed that. And when I became the owner of that venue, that part went. I couldn't do that anymore. And so I do it because I genuinely love it. But what it's now doing that I found naturally is it's bringing people in. And that's fucking awesome. But if I was to do it to go, so I have a business, right? I do it, again, what we were speaking about before, I do this through me rather than my business because I think it's just a lot better to connect as people. But if I had it and I was messaging people and I was going, I charge £50 for a consultancy call. This person that I'm messaging, I'm going to get them to the point where they pay me £50 for a consultancy call. Wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen because it's so obvious. Whereas I go into it going, I just fucking love chatting to people. If someone wants a consultancy call, fantastic. That's awesome. And I know I can provide good value through that. But I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing it because I just love that interaction with people. I love chatting to other artists and talking about music. Like, I've been a fan of music since I was born. I went through... I've got something somewhere, a video all going through this whole thing of when I first discovered Iron Maiden and AC/DC through my dad, right? And from then on, I was like, I know this is where I want to be. And I know that I've always wanted to be in music. James then brought up the point, and it's another very, very valid point, that when we are trying to build connection with people, it is really, really difficult to try and convey that when we are speaking to camera online, because it's faceless and it feels a bit soulless, and it can be hard to really bring your authentic self into your content. Oh, it's so fucking hard, man. Like, when I started doing it, I hated it. It's the one thing that's put me off of doing this for so long, is I fucking hate speaking to camera. I will tell you, it comes so unnaturally to me, and it still does, that I have the Notes app, and I never script, but I bullet point. And the way you'll see my videos, they're quite edited and quite chopped up, which is why I wanted to do this, because I know I'm better at speaking this way. But my videos, I will say a point, and I will go, right, okay, yep. And I will look back at the phone, and I have to memorize that, and I fuck it up, you know. I've learned how to take a lot more of the pressure off of myself. And I think what a lot of people can struggle with when they're filming talk to camera stuff like this is they're scared of judgment, and there's, you know, you have that fear of, what if I sound like a dick? What if, like, someone comments and says, like, shitty things about me? And then you start realizing when you do it more and more that not a lot of people care, and they're just listening to you, and they're not you might notice all these little quirks about yourself when you're talking. No one else is noticing them. We are our own worst critics. And the one thing I found to actually help with it is I actually record with the screen facing away from me. It can sometimes create some shit angles, but you can kind of crop it and make it look a bit better. I can't do it when I'm looking at myself, because you notice all of those things. So, like, even when we're recording now, I have got your face directly under my webcam. So it's like I'm talking to you. I'm doing my very best to not look at myself, because I just go, oh God. And you notice these things about you, and it's shit. And I'm trying to get out of that mentality, but I know so many people struggle with that, and it's really hard to get past. But the more you do it, the more you put yourself out there, the more you'll start realizing that people don't give a shit. And, you know, and it's also, again, why I wanted to do this. It's why I wanted to do it in video form, because I will send you this whole video file, and you can then use any of this footage you want to use on your socials to show people what you're about. Whether it's your personal, whether it's your band, it doesn't matter. You can chop it up how you want. And that's why I want to do it, because it could be someone's first thing of talking to camera about themselves. And I want to bring that out of people, as well as, like I said earlier, challenging myself to see how capable I am of doing what I want to do. I'm doing it to try and help other people so they have some content that they can share as well. So it is hard, and there's a lot of barriers to break down when you're trying to navigate the industry. And, there's I see a lot of things on TikTok when people are like, when you're a musician, you're a PR company, you're your own marketer, you're a videographer, you're a video editor, you're a photo editor, you're all of this. But it's exactly the same for anyone else that's starting a small business. Everyone is the same. And that's how we have to start thinking about this, is not only are we doing it creatively, this is a small business. And if you are a small business, you're not going to waste loads of the limited time and energy you have on the things that you're not very good at. And you're going to go, I know what I'm good at, so I'm going to go and do that. Unless you have more time and you go, I've got all the time to do the things that I'm good at, so I'm going to try one thing as well that I'm not good at to try and break that boundary. For me, I'm great at fucking spreadsheets and admin, man. I love it. I do it all day. What I'm not good at, or was not good at, I think I'm getting better at it, is speaking. And so for a while I was running my business, I was not speaking. I was just trying to message and outreach to people and not giving any of my own personality. Even though I'm the one preaching and saying, give more of your personality, I was like, yeah, but I'm not going to do it because I'm shit at it. I'm going to focus on my strength. But what I had to do when things weren't going too well was go, right, I'm going to put myself out there because I firmly believe in what I'm doing. Just like an artist should firmly believe in their music. And I want to show that to people. The only thing that is the barrier is fear, in my opinion. And I'm talking from experience. All of my talking stuff that I was refusing to do, it was through fear. Through fear of, what if my friends and family see this and go, what the fuck is he doing? Why is he now just online chatting about music? The fear of, Jimmy X123 commenting on a post and going, mate, your teeth are well dodgy. Why are you fucking filming yourself talking? All of that. He then said something that, as you'll see, really made me fucking laugh. And it's such a good idea. He basically said any shitty comments they get on their socials, he will screenshot it and share it to his story. So they are just feeding his content. Yeah. As soon as you start showing people I'm not vulnerable, they stop. So I've made a bit of a commitment to myself, but not really strict. If I don't do it, I'm not beating myself up. Because I get, or used to get, more wound up about the social media side in terms of who's going to say what, are people going to be judging me? What I've started to try and do as of kind of last week is post on my TikTok 3 times a day. And it's not well thought out pieces of content all the time. It's just like bits from my videos or little kind of things that have come to my head. And what I found instantly by doing that is if one of them doesn't do well, then you go, it doesn't matter. I've got another one coming out in a couple of hours. So it doesn't matter. But even if you're doing that once a day or once a week, that's the mentality. If you're doing it once a week and something doesn't work well for you, mate, next week will be better. I've got another one next week. It's the same with gigs. If you're playing to 2 people at a show, and you've got one booked next week, you're like, well, next week's probably, can it get much worse? Probably not. So we're going to have a blast next week, And it's about, that's where I think the importance lies with consistency. Because actually, if you start doing things consistently, no matter what that consistency is, once a week, once a month, once a year, once a day, there's more coming. And so you stop. And I certainly think, I don't know why this happened to me, but everyone I've spoken about it with who are a similar age or older than me agree. I felt when I hit my 30s, I just stopped caring. I just stopped caring what people thought about me. And I don't know what it was. I wouldn't say it was on my 30th birthday and it happened. But as I'm turning 33 next month. As I started going through my early 30s, I just realised no one cared. And I think one of the big things that happened was when I was looking at letting go of the venue and leaving that, I was really like, everyone is going to judge me. Everyone is going to fucking hate me for doing it. And everyone's going to think I'm a failure. And through a bit of therapy and a lot of pep talks from my girlfriend, I left. And I found no one cared. Not in a horrible way, but there was no one going, you fucking failed, or you time wasted, none of that. And if they were thinking it, they didn't say it, so who cares, right? And so that made me go, I was probably there for another 6 months to a year than I should have been, because I was so scared of leaving because of what other people thought of me. And then I did it and realised no one cared. And I think that's where we can block ourselves from connecting with people, is what if I say something wrong in that message that I send? When all you're asking is who are your favourite band or something. But your brain still goes there and goes, what if they think I'm being weird? You know, as soon as you can start letting that go, and as soon as you start messaging 10, 15 people a day, it becomes routine. And you don't think about the 3 people that might think you're a bit weird. You think about the 7 people that gave a shit and replied. Well, look, James, it's been fantastic talking to you. I've really enjoyed this, actually. It's the first one I've done with a guest, so thank you for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll do a part 2. We'll do a part 2 for sure, man. We'll do it in a few weeks. Absolutely. Thanks so much, everybody. Go and check them out. They are Kings and Bears. I will link their EP in the description. Go and listen to it. Go and message them and tell them how much you fucking love it, or tell them how much you fucking hate it, and then you might end up on their Instagram story, and that'll be fun. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and there'll be more episodes like this very, very soon. Post-editing Tom here. If you've made it to the end, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for the technical issues, and I really hope my little interjections made the conversation make sense. It was about 1 hour and 10 chat, and yeah, it ended up being around 50 minutes of audio that I managed to get from myself. So I really hope today's episode helps. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are the fucking best.